My name is Dr. Rajesh K Pillania. I am working in the area of happiness for last 15 years. I have written numerous articles, reports, and books on happiness. March 20 is celebrated as International Day of Happiness. On this day, a report is released called World Happiness Report. The report is prepared by UN Sustainable Solutions Development Network. When the report is released, there are a lot of discussions, debates, arguments around why some countries are ranked higher, why some countries are ranked lower. In India also, there are a lot of debate and discussions because India is ranked lower in these rankings. I don't agree with lower ranking of India in World Happiness reports. Before I go into reasons why I don't agree, let's look at the idea of happiness. The idea of happiness is centuries old. Poets and philosophers have been talking about it. Happiness is considered as an ultimate goal of individual's life. However, the scientific research in this field of happiness is only around 4 decades old. It's a very young field. It's a work in progress. So it's a very good idea to try to measure happiness of an individual, of a society, of a country, because once we know the happiness of an individual, of a society, of a country, governments and organizations, they can develop policies for the welfare of its people. So at the idea level, the idea of World Happiness Report, trying to measure happiness of different countries and put it together as a ranking, is a very good idea. The issues or challenges are in its implementation. Now let's come to why I don't agree with the lower ranking of India in the happiness reports. The first issue is issue with data. The World Happiness Report uses Gallup World Poll Survey, which is done in more than 130 countries, and in each country around 1000 people are surveyed. People are asked basically one main question, which is called Cantil ladder, in which people are asked to rate themselves between 0 to 10. 0 is the worst possible life and 10 is the best possible life. So around 1000 people rank themselves between 0 to 10, and these ranks are put together and averages are taken to come up with a national score. And then different countries are measured. Some countries are put at a higher level based on the national average, other countries are put at a lower level based on low national average. So what are the issues in the data here? One issue is the data is collected during one particular time period or only few times a year. Then it might not be the real representation of the happiness of that country for the whole year. For example, during the time period when the data is collected, if some political event is happening, if some natural calamity has come, then the participant might rank themselves lower than the usual. This is one issue. Second issue is not every country is surveyed every year because of the political situation or some other issues. And to compensate that, data for last 3 years are used. The third issue is that in the Gallup World Poll Surveys, the World Happiness Report website mentions that sometimes the data collected for late 2023 might be used for early 2024. Just for an example, what I'm trying to say is that data collected at the end of a year might be used for the start of a new year. So these are some of the issues in the data. And now let's go to the second major issue, that is the issue in methodology. In this World Happiness reports and rankings, the method used to find out the happiness level is self-reporting. People are asked to report their own happiness, and this brings an element of subjectivity, bias, and unintended ambiguity. What I mean is, the idea of happiness in different cultures is different. For example, the idea of happiness in a collective society is different as compared to idea of happiness in an individual society. So the self-reporting with subjectivity bias and unintended ambiguity for a concept of happiness which varies across cultures poses a question mark on the methodology of this survey. Second is, people rank themselves, self-evaluate themselves on happiness based on their memory. And the research in psychology, in neuroscience shows that memory might not be the best way to measure happiness. And third is, in these reports, to come up with a national score, averages are taken. It might be good for a small country which is homogeneous also, but for a country as diverse as India, where people come from different backgrounds, different cultures, different things, huge diversity. So national average might not be a good idea. So these are some of the issues in methodology. When we look at India, I think India as a country is much more happier than it's shown in the World Happiness Reports. Why it is so, I will go in later. But if you look at the self-reporting of Indians in this, then India is a very young, a very aspirational, income disparities are also there, and there is also a bit of self-critical people. So it's possible that the self-reporting of happiness by Indians participating in this report may be lower than the actual level of happiness. Why I think that India can be a much more happier country than shown in the World Happiness Report? Because if you look at research in happiness, the main source of happiness of individuals is relationship. The longest study in the world on happiness is done at Harvard. It was found that the one major reason of happiness is relationships. I would like to believe, based on my interactions, based on my studies in India in happiness, that relationships are still very strong in India. And one of my recent projects that I'm doing, in which I'm talking to people who are 100 years old, the one of main factors for happiness that is coming is relationship. And relationships are strong in India. So I would like to believe that Indians are much more happier than shown in the World Happiness Report. Another reason is in India, religion is very strong. Spirituality is very strong. And religion and spirituality are very important for happiness because life doesn't go always the way we want to go. Sometimes there are problems, but if I'm a religious or spiritual person and problems come, I can still go along with my life thinking that today is not my good day, but tomorrow might be a better day or God will take care of me. So this is my quick take on why World Happiness Report is a good idea, but not a great implementation. Why India is much more happier than it's shown in the World Happiness Report. But before I conclude, let me also accept that the work done by the researchers involved in World Happiness Report is a very difficult task. To collect data for so many people, for so many countries is not easy. So I would really like to appreciate the initiative and the effort undertaken by the people who are behind this World Happiness Report. It's easy to criticize, but it's also important to appreciate the initiative taken by the World Happiness Report people, and with some improvements in the methodology, in the data collection, we can make this report much more better, and with a better report, these reports can be a good source for different governments around the world to start policies for the welfare and development of their people. Thank you so much. Stay happy.